Welcome to another episode of The Profile. I'm Gary Dunn, and in the hot seat tonight, very hot, is a legend, Mr. Chris Brady. How are you, Chris?
I'm fine, thank you. Well, I think so anyway.
Yep. Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Well, I wasn't in the obituary column this morning, so it's not looking too bad today.
So, where were you born?
St Anne's Hospital in Mount Lawley,
Yep.
1948.
Wow.
It was a good year for babies, so I'm told.
Yep.
So, and I share the same birthday as David Bowie and Elvis Presley.
Well, you're a
They
drummer.
got talent and I don't have it. So, means nothing.
I don't know, you got talent in many other ways.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess.
So, what is your main instrument?
Drums,
Okay.
obviously.
What was the turning point in your life where you decided, look...
Oh,
you
for
know,
drums,
yeah.
I saw my uncle. My uncle played in the YAL band. I went to the Anzac Day parade, probably when I was about 10. I was home going down the street, frackada, frackada, frackada. And I thought, well, I want to do that frackada, frackada thing too. So, a couple of years later, I took some lessons, only for a couple of weeks. But I had a pair of sticks, which meant I could start tapping around on stuff and all that sort of stuff, driving around mad. And my old man used to go to old-time dances, so sometimes I'd sit in with the bands there, and I'd seem to be able to handle that okay, and I got an old kit, and then I went into a pipe band for a year or so, which was good rudimentally, I guess, and then from there I got sucked into the rock band thing and did all the clubs and stomps around Perth, in the mid-'60s and early 60s. So I went through a very good period to be playing in Perth.
Yeah.
Probably the best it's been, I would think.
Yeah.
The 60s, so it's incredible.
I was a bit young then, but, so your first band was in 63? That was the pipe band that you talk about?
Sorry, you have to speak up a bit to bring the hearing
I said your first band was 63? That was the pipe band you were talking about?
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah.
Of course, that was totally different.
Yeah.
That was a good experience, though.
Yep.
And the first band I was actually was the Surfsiders.
That sounds like a washing powder.
Well, it does, but that's my line, and you've stolen it.
Oh, sorry. Mate. Okay, that was 64. I'm going to steal lots of them, I reckon.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, Chris. Look, you played with the Statesman.
Yeah.
Supported the Easy Beats. Like, who was in it when you were in it? Because I know that a friend
The
of mine,
Statesman,
Ross Mitchell,
Jeff McCauley,
Jeff McCauley.
John Mills.
Yep.
He was always old, even though he was young.
John Mills
at the
was a
time.
joker, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was always. Yeah, but he was. John Mills. Look, I can tell you, it shows you how young people think at the time.
Yeah.
I can remember when we first got together for the Statesman. I was about 17 or 16, and I said to Millsy, "How old are you?" And he said, 26. And I went, 26? Imagine playing in a rock band at 26. That's really old. You won't get me doing that. 30 years later, still doing it.
Yeah. So you played, you joined the Aquarius in 1969, supported Farnham, Ronnie Burns, the Platters. Was that?
Yeah, all those sort of people.
Pinocchios? And
Yeah,
that vibe
Pinocchio, all those
and
clubs,
that?
Pinocchios,
Yeah.
Two Eyes, fucking Trendsetter, Latin Quarter, Top Hat, Napoleon's, the Coliseum, all that sort of places.
Yeah.
And some of the early clubs, before places like Pinocchio's, there was a couple of little joints that were, I don't know, quasi nightclubs, I suppose, like there was one above where Theo's shop was, I think it was called West End or Trendsetter or...
Is that in Stirling Street or?
Yeah, the corner of Stirling Street, up there upstairs there.
Yeah.
Played there a few times.
Yeah.
There's one in Sherwood Court, of all places, which became a trendy clothes shop in 1968 or 69.
Yeah.
I can't think what that was called down there. They were the only sort of clubs that I knew that were around Perth, but there was a lot of hotel gigs.
Yeah.
Heaps.
So you played with Norma Kelly Band. You started playing country music.
Yeah.
How different is playing drums for a rock and roll band to a country music band? Because I know my producer, who was like a massive rock and roller, all of a sudden turned to country. I know that he had a hard time coping with it all.
A lot of blokes
did you cope
do.
with it easier than him, or?
Pretty much, because I played old-time music as well.
Yep.
And when I first started doing that, there was that transitional period where, they used to come up to me and say, "Well, if you're a country music drummer, why aren't you wearing a hat?"
Yeah.
And I used to say, "Well, I play jazz too, but I don't wear sunglasses and a fucking beret either when I'm doing that." You know what I mean? And the numbers, the music was changing. Like, Your Cheating Heart and all that sort of stuff was on the way out.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a bit more boppy and stuff. So
Is that a 10-gallon hat, or you just enjoying
Sorry?
the show? Is that a 10-gallon hat, or you just enjoying the show?
no, well, it wasn't 10-gallon hat. We went metric by then.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like a 20-litre.
So 20-litre hat.
Something like that, yeah. Lost something in the translation, that one.
Yeah, no, that was Blazing Saddles, remember? When,
Yeah, but I played another country band before that, which was Drugstore Cowboys, and that was a bit more, that was earlier. That was probably back more like 80, oh gee, that might have been even later 70s, even 81 or somewhere around there. That was more traditional stuff, Merle Haggard stuff and that, you know, but I had good guitarists in those bands, and I used to enjoy just listening to them. You know, they knew what they were doing, finger pickers and all that.
Yeah, finger licking.
You know.
Who were the guys playing?
John Hall, he's an
Yep.
excellent player.
Yep.
I did a couple of thousand gigs with that guy, I think. So, and over a lot of different styles. I mean, he's a good player. He could play, you know, Jimi Hendrix, or he could play some Foggy Mountain Breakdown. Didn't make much difference. John Short, I worked with, a country fine player. Lucky Oceans.
What's your place is falling apart?
Look, I know I'm ripping up the floor here.
That's okay, mate.
You know.
You always did that.
It's okay, there you go. The guy that I first worked with was Hank Koopman. He was in Drugstore Cowboys.
Yep.
And he used to just travel around the country in a bus and do all that sort of
Yep.
thing. You know, I didn't do that with him, but he did that for a long time. I heard about him here and there. You know, you'd see somewhere there'd been a carnival in Mount Isa or something, and he's working there. He's one of those blokes. You know?
Well, those country guys used to say, "Do you want to come on a bus?"
Yeah, some of those guys pop up. I mean, I bumped into a singer I hadn't seen for 40 years, and he's still singing professionally in Queensland.
Oh, right.
And he was a singer in, the first singer in Aquarius.
Yeah.
So he's still out there doing it. He had a good voice too.
So-
Tony Zapantas.
You played in the real McCoys. Who was in that band apart from the McCoys?
Well, Gavin, Dave Sawyer.
Yeah.
I think Greg Wynn was playing bass there for quite some time in that band. I get them and Decoy mixed up a little bit because the personnel were interchangeable, kind of, you know what I mean? There's a lot of bands like that, especially back late 60s, early 70s. There was a group of players that virtually swapped from one band to another. One would be in 1 minute, and then be in another, and you'd work with that bloke in that band, and you end up another band with him. There was a lot of that.
There's a new band in Perth now called Decoy.
Sorry?
There's a band called Decoy in Perth now.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope that was as much fun as we had.
Vinnie Correa and Shane Savick and
Sorry?
those guys. Vinnie Correa and
Vinnie?
they play at the casino. And,
Oh, that's
and all
Vinnie's
around.
band. Oh, will
Yeah,
have to be a good band if he's in it.
Yep, absolutely.
There you go.
Legend. So tell me about your old drum kits.
Oh.
So you started, they all fell apart.
Yeah, well...
You know, tell me the Ludwig story. And
yeah, well, I got a Ludwig kit after the kit that always fall apart. There was bits of everything. And they had a really good name, but the kit was really expensive. It was £310, I remember, in 1965. And I think the average wage was £8. So you could work that out now. If that was now, it'd be like 20 grand. And that fell apart with that. What happened with Ludwig? It's an interesting story. Anyway, I think it is. Their agent, the Ludwig agent in England, went to Ludwig in America and said, "There's a band in England that get pretty popular. They're called the Beatles, and they want to know if you'll put Ludwig insignia on the front of the bass drum head, because he wants everyone to know he's got a Ludwig kit, not Premier kit, like most English drummers." And they said, "No, we won't do that." So he did it himself. Ringo actually got the paint and painted Ludwig on there. There were 86,000 kits behind in a year, and they caught up in another year. They said the machinery never stopped. They cut a few corners. I think they were on some of my toms, actually. The corners they were square. No, they were. And, you know, and the hardware on it was terrible. The American kits in those are real bad hardware. They'd all fall apart too. That's how the Japanese got into the market. They concentrated on making decent hardware and took over.
So is that when you decided to start making drums?
No, I didn't actually make a decision I was going to make drums. You know, there was no epiphany for me. I was working in retail at Box 8 inches. There was the drumstick shortage on at the time.
Was that in the Neil Farrington days? And
Yeah, I did a lot of skits with them. We used to put on some pretty good pantomimes down there. There was a drumstick shortage on at the time, and drumsticks are made out of hickory. There's not a lot of woods you can actually use for drumsticks.
could they only make right-handed ones? There wasn't.
Sorry?
Could they only make right-handed ones, or there wasn't?
Well, when I first started, they hadn't invented the second stick, as I was telling you, but that came. I never thought it would catch on, actually. Anyway, now look what you've done. I can't remember what we're talking about.
We're talking about Vox 80, and we're talking about
Vox 80,
we're talking
just
about.
wonderful.
And when did you start making drums?
Drumstick shortage.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, they've got to. I knew there's a lot of woods growing out there. My mentor was from field office of the museum. I went all over the place studying everything out there when I was a kid. And but I didn't know what any of the woods looked like or what they did, and I wanted to know. You know, I get very curious like that. And you'd ask farmers and stuff, and they'd palm me off when you're younger. Say, what's that? They say, it's a white gum. I say, oh, yeah, what's that? They say, it's a white gum. I say, well, how come it's got yellow flowers?
Politically incorrect to say white gum these days, but anyway,
Sorry?
it's politically incorrect to say white gum these days.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what about black butts? There's 7 different black butts.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Well, there is.
Yeah.
Goldfield's black butt, Cleveland's black butt, coastal black butt,
Yeah.
black butt, prickly bark. There's heaps of them, So, if you're going to get offended, I think that
No,
one
no,
would do the
I'm
job.
not offended. I just skipped over a whole pile of
But there was not
political
a lot,
correctness
not
there.
a lot written about that stuff. So I had to do my own experiments, and especially drying it out. They're very hard, difficult to.
Yeah.
And secondly, nobody make it.
Are you talking about the drums, the wood?
Sorry?
You're talking about drying the wood out. Yep.
Yeah. Well, see, the other thing was that
Should I just grab this now?
Sorry.
Should I grab this now? This one. Should I grab it now?
It's very heavy. Yeah, mate.
it is.
Well, that's Wando. That's one of the heaviest woods on the planet. So it's
I've just done my back in.
hardness. That's about 18 on the hardness scale. If people say it's hard as ebony, you know the old saying. Ebony's nowhere near as hard as that stuff. And most of the woods in land are like that because they're not being used for anything.
Yeah.
And anyway, I only started making these to get the money to make the solid wood ones that I started with. But everyone started buying these, and I'm thinking, well, what does this wood sound like as compared to that? And I also made. There was no such thing as a 12-inch snare drum when I started.
Yeah.
Or 10s or anything like that. And I made a 10-inch drum for an Indian percussionist called Trilok Gurtu in 1984. And he still uses an amazing thing.
Right.
And we built little toms into a soundboard, only an inch deep, and he did that. So I'd already made small ones, and I had to make the parts for him because he couldn't get all the wires and skins and that, so I had to make that. And
So what?
they caught on like you wouldn't believe. You know, they got to New York, couldn't make. Look, I had the whole world market. If I'd had 2,000 of them, I could have sold them. They started popping up on things like Love Shack and those sort of sounds. It's a different sound. And that's how the hip hop thing started. You know, Living Colour, they got one.
All right.
Steve Jordan got one, and he's working with everybody. And then he'd lend it to somebody else because they're all pretty close. Group,
they all
those
know
guys.
each other.
Oh yeah, and those. There's another thing with those, they record really well because the fundamental note that comes off that doesn't. The toms don't set that off, so it's silent when you're playing. Whereas if you've got a 14 and you're playing up here, you get bzz, bzz, bzz down there.
You know, the resonation.
Yeah, sympathetic vibration. So they'd take that into a studio, straight to a studio, and they could virtually put it down and play.
Wow.
So save them a fortune. I remember the Eurythmics when they were here. They went into a studio here. They wanted to put something down, and they said, "Have you got? We'll go out and have lunch while you're getting a drum set because I've already got it."
All right.
He said, "Well, yeah, they'd never seen one of those, so everyone would come through and buy one,
Yeah.
or 12 or 14s." And then I made ply drums, and I didn't cross laminate them either, which everybody else did. I didn't want to do that.
Why did that happen? What?
Well,
Was that?
I didn't like the sound of the drums that were on the market at the time.
Okay.
I thought, why do I want? I didn't know how they made drums really. Why do I want to duplicate that for?
Yeah.
You know, but I figured that if they're making them out of plywood, and they used to use the stuff that you use off the back of wardrobes too. You know, they put some plastic around it.
That can't be any good.
So no, well, anyway, I just figured I wanted to do it not cross laminated, but it's very difficult because you can't have any shrinkage in the shell whatsoever with whatever glue you're using.
Yeah.
And the technology wasn't around in those days, but I worked out I'd use epoxies. But you're only going to get one drum a day, whereas the opposition will make them like cheesels.
Yeah.
So I opted for sound. You know, I wasn't in it to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was more doing an R&D thing and just selling what I was making as I went along. People just kept coming and kept buying it. So I thought, well, yeah, shit, what happened, Sean? So, but I never really wanted to have a drum company in the first place. I would have been much happier in my shed.
Yeah.
A lot of people interviewed me, always said The one part of him wants to be back in that shed. You know, I'm own, and I am now, so I'm happy.
So when you were working at Box 80, was that playing all those different makers' drums, if you like? You know,
Oh well, that was selling other people's drums. You know what I mean? But I didn't. In 1977, that was about the time when I started getting interested in the sticks.
Yeah.
And I had to do a lot of work, so I didn't actually build a drum. And somebody asked me to build a solid one based on the fact that I was doing a lot of weird wood research. And the guy said, no one can do it, it's very difficult. And I said, oh, well, I might have a way of doing it. So I did that, and it worked out all right. And the first guy to hear it was Chick Corea, which was lucky for me. And he said, that's the best snare I've ever heard. He said, you better keep doing it. And I knew he wasn't pissing in my pocket.
Chick Corea was a keyboard player, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's also a real good drummer too.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's good at everything.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah, so a lot of these guys came out to where you were making them.
Oh, yeah.
You Armadale? Were you
I was at my house in them days a lot of times, you know. I had a lot of guys through the house.
Yeah.
Like your mother's a good cook, so.
So some of the names you've made drums for: Ringo, Mick Fleetwood. I mean, I believe there's 250 of them.
Yeah,
Can you reel some of them off for me, Chris?
U2, they got about 15 snares.
Yeah.
See, that's a funny thing. They record with a 12-inch snare drum, but made out of she oak, but they play live on 14s. That's about that business with recording with 12s I was talking about. There's ways of fattening them out too. I can show you how to do it, but I won't do it now. But I can make that sound more like the same note you get out of a 14 or pretty close to it, without being drastic with the tuning either. So, and those drums have a lot of they've got a lot of character, and they're all different. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah,
you got a drum, and that's yours. And so a lot of ones I've designed with the player. You know, like I'll talk with a guy and. Like the guy from Nickelback, he wanted a particular sound, and I ended up dredging actually. I think it was that wood back out from. I'd used it for 20 years, made a drum for him. It was exactly what I wanted. The guy from Tool, he wanted to sound like U2, but more cut. And they use she oak, so I've got rock oak, which grows further inland, which is denser.
Yeah.
It's slightly higher pitch. That sort of stuff. Then you can make the shell a bit thinner if you want to get a different sound. You different wood, different diameter. So there's a lot to do. So it becomes like
rocket science.
Yeah, well, no, it's not rocket surgery.
Sounds like
so you get to tailor make something. You can tailor make sounds, you know, and that's what I got into. So that's where I was really coming from. So, I was never really interested in the business side of it. That was always a problem. So what I kept it here. If I hadn't kept it in Australia, I could have made heaps of money if that had been the object.
That wasn't you.
Never the object. You know, that's why I didn't sell my name or do anything like that either. You know, I just. There's one thing I never did. The best drums I built were not long before I retired. I'd actually built similar ones way back in 1989. Maybe I remember Billy Cobham come to the factory and he heard this prototype I had that spun him out. He said, that 12-inch tom's a lower note than the floor tom. How'd you manage that? I said, he said, when are you going to put that on the market? I said, maybe 20 or 30 years. I said, nobody's heard of Jarrakin yet. This is another thing again, you know what I mean? There's no need for me to make that now.
Well, I just, I played with a drummer called Stuart Robertson.
Yeah, I know Stuart. I knew him when I was a lad.
Wonderful guy and a great drummer. Good
He is.
And I think his kid is Jarrah.
Yeah, he's got Jarrah. I think he's got old Jarrah kid.
And he just idolises it.
Well, there you go. Well, so he should.
Yeah.
No, they do sound good. I mean, that's the whole point of it. I mean, your ears will tell you. Oh, they can be, but your ears will tell you. So that's the thing. I mean, no good saying, well, that doesn't sound any good. If you hit it, it does. You know what I mean? You want to have it. So it doesn't matter what the ad says or who's using it. So, you know, it doesn't really matter that Chili Peppers use it or something like that. But those recordings are very handy if you want to try and sell a sound to somebody.
Yeah.
Because they say, well, what about that? I said, we'll go and have a listen to Chili Peppers recording because that's what that is.
So you did the Chili Peppers?
Sorry?
The drummer from Chili Peppers?
Yeah, he's got that stuff. It was an embarrassment, actually, because he used to use our snare at the Pearl drum clinics. Yeah. So what they did was, to get around it, it was becoming a nuisance because...
So they had a Pearl drum clinic and your snare was the snare?
Yeah, while he was demonstrating the Pearl drums there, you know, to me...
So people say, well...
Yeah, well, that's the problem. So, you know, it does put you in the spot a bit. But what they did to get around it was, with Virgil Donati, he wanted to sign with Premier, but he wanted to use our snare drums. So I went to do a deal with him. I said, why don't we do a signature series snare drum? And that way he'll stay with you guys. But they kind of pitched the idea for themselves. And all the drum companies from there started to have signature series snare drums for their drummers. The idea being then that they get a kickback off the number of that model that got sold. Also stop them using mine.
Yeah.
But they were using our stuff in the studios. They still do.
I can see my producer at the moment getting a fat.
He's what?
He's getting a fat. Is there a snare drum you can make for him? You think?
For whom?
For him.
I'll make an enchanted one. They're really good. They always stay in time. They're excellent.
I love it. Oh, good. So, what was the earliest band that influenced you?
Sorry?
The earliest band that influenced you, in music?
The Surfsiders one I heard of, because I'd never heard of a band before, and I thought, that's great. They sound like a washing detergent, don't they? It just spun me out, you know. They were raging, and I never heard of that. They're playing all the stuff like, you know, Brian Poole, the tremolo stuff, and Buddy Holly, and it was all fantastic. So, and that, insofar as it really got me keyed up to want to join a rock band and play out and go and do that. But I mean, you get influenced by everybody. I mean, I got a record and a book once, so I sent away for it. This is when I was about 14. The only bloke I ever saw it or heard it was Rick Whittle, the guy who recorded...
The Octopus.
Sorry?
The Octopus, Rick Whittle.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
The groper. And no, well, now look, you've done it to me again. I've been to Dementia World, you know, lately. I got 2 free
Hey,
tickets.
look, I can't even remember what we were talking about, Chris.
No, nor can I. It's gone now. Can't have been any good.
So, couldn't
Probably
be
a lie.
good. Okay, who's your favourite band of all time?
Well, it tends to be different musicians and they form different bands, but I've been listening a lot to like John McLaughlin. Anyone with Trilok Gertu in it. He's an Indian percussionist. Whoever you're either working with John McLaughlin or Joe Zawon, I like listening to him a lot. I can't play what he does, you know, but it's very refreshing. Yeah, I'm trying to study some of that now. Actually, I didn't practice when I was playing because I was gigging all the time. Yeah. Now I don't play and I practice. Yeah. I practice nearly every day. It's something I never did before because I've got electronic kit. No, they're really
one
good
of
to
these?
practice on. Eh?
You use one of these with your electronic kit?
No, I use electronic kit at home only because I can put headphones on. Yeah. I put music through it, the metronome and all that, and I could never do that before. I never had that luxury to practice. So I can, you know, if I feel like it at 2 in the morning, I'll get up and put half an hour in if I feel like it. And the matter I do it for that, just for the everyone said he must hate electronics. I said, not at all. You know, I mean, it's a very legitimate way of going about things. It's excellent. Actually.
Soon they'll have the Chris Brady.
Sorry?
They'll have the Chris Brady, you know, like you got this kit, that kit, the Chris Brady kit, you know, on electronic drums. You can...
Oh, no, I don't think I can design an electronic drum. I don't know anything much about it. I haven't got past torch batteries. Yeah, you know, and I'm not into technology. I told you I'm on fireplace. CD burner's a fireplace. I haven't got a mobile phone.
No mobile phone?
No, but I do like it when, always at a gig though, I say, ladies and gentlemen, would you please turn off your mobile phones? I always yell out, I'm on landline. Do you want me to cut the cord? Who is that man? You know, good way of getting attention. It's a good line. I'm sorry, I'm ripping up your floor.
That's okay. Don't worry, the whole place is falling apart. Your favourite band of all time?
Oh, gee, look, I really wouldn't want to say. I enjoy music that much. I mean, I like one band, I like country music bands, you know, I like gypsy music, flamenco, whatever. You take a bit from everything, really. I don't really
have a favourite.
Eh?
You don't have a favourite?
No, but I tend to like listening to stuff at Trilok Gertu and Joe Zawon and all those guys do, but not always.
That's what I was looking for.
Sorry?
That's what I was looking for, that answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of those people leave you for dead because it becomes just gymnastics, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not into just people playing a million miles an hour and that sort of stuff. I mean, No, it's the Indian rhythms and that's in that stuff and the time signatures.
yeah.
I like that.
So if you happen to be going to look for wood one day, some new wood, it might be a deserted island, so, and you get stranded on that deserted island, right? What album would you take with you to listen to?
Well, there's no electricity on a deserted island.
No, don't start that stuff, Chris, because
Hey?
don't start that stuff because you could have one of those, you know.
Oh, the wind-up
Yeah,
one,
you
and
could have
Edison
that.
Mark II,
Yeah.
his master's voice.
You know.
Probably a Trilogy 2 one, because it wouldn't matter how long I was there for, I'd never be able to work out what he's doing. So at least, you know what I mean? I think along those lines. But, well, then again, Fred Futbucker and the Rock Suckers are pretty
Fred
good.
Futbucker?
Don't say it too fast.
No.
They're one of my favourite bands, actually. They got the Elsie Crabthrobber singers with them as well. So it's, they're good, actually.
I was going to ask you what the best Perth band you saw live was. It wasn't Fred Futbucker, was it?
No, I think some of the bands I played with that you've never heard of,
Yes.
that were nearly famous,
Yes.
like Welshpool and the Tremolos,
Yeah.
Simply Redcliffe,
Yep.
Back Barry Manilow, and Konana Muscuri, Manfred Mandura, there's another
Manfred
one.
Mandura.
Yes, the Daddy Cool Guardy, they were good. You know, I can't think of any more, but there was a lot of other ones. You know, before I went to Dementia World.
Sounds like that orgy when they had the boy up Brook, you know.
I did a gig at Boy Up Brook
Did
about
you
a
really?
year ago.
Yeah.
No, I did.
Okay.
It was terrific.
Absolutely.
Shows you how many gigs I got. The gear's still in the boot of the car, and it was about a year ago.
Still have the boy up Brook. Your favourite TV show growing up? What?
Twilight Zone, I think, in the old days. I used to like the old Star Treks and that, because you take some of the people off. Star Trek, Twilight Zone, Sergeant Bilko, that's going back forever. The Honeymooners.
Yeah.
They were all early shows. I've never got, the Young and the Wrestlers or whatever. I don't watch those sorts
Young
of
and the
things.
Wrestlers.
The Young and the Wrestlers.
The Lung.
The Days of Our Wives. Those sorts of things, I didn't do any of those. But, I'm going to go to movies, though. I think I told you that, didn't I?
Yes. No. I was going to ask you, what does the future hold for you? And,
Well, we're going
and I've
to
got
do
this thing
movies.
here. You're thinking of going in movies. Give me some movie names.
Well, actually, what we're going to do, I mean,
Could you hear that?
this is
was
a
talking
surefire way to go. We get all the classics, the classic movies.
Yep.
And we're going to do it with an Australian flavour,
Yep.
like Gone with the Windmill, Citizen Cane Toad, 50 Shades of Grey Water, Enter the Dragonfly, Eye of the Tiger Prawn, El Cid Chrome, Spartacus Cuss. There are hundreds of them. I can't even think of them all now, but there's other ones as well. King of Kings Park. There's heaps. I can't remember the others especially, but that'll start. That'll be for a start. I think they'll be hits.
Yeah.
I think they'll be hits. I'll win the Academy Award, suddenly, and I'll come out of the closet.
Okay.
I've got one.
Have you really?
Well, yeah.
Do you jump in it often?
There's skeletons in there, though, usually. Get crowded in there sometimes.
Any drumsticks in there?
Hey?
Any drumsticks in there?
Well, they might be. I don't know. Somebody rattle on, but you got to do comedy. I've never been able to be serious for very long. It's always been a problem for me, as a matter of fact.
Is it?
I do it when I go overseas when there's nobody around, and I think, why do I do this? Like, I remember once I was in Taiwan, and the guy spoke fairly good English, and in them days not so many did, so he took his staff along to listen, so they could listen to the Joseph talking to the Westerners and picking it up. And I decided I'd have a bit of fun with him. And it's usually with the, and he said to me, he said, "You want to get paid?" He said, "We pay by LC." I always remember that. I said, "What, large cone?" He said, "Letter of credit. What large cone?" I said, "Never mind." But the best was in Japan, and I was in this mall, and it was a militaria shop. I didn't think they'd
Militaria?
have one. Like Sandovers or Shimmons.
Oh, yeah.
Sell guns and that. And I'm looking in the window, and there's two Japanese guys there at the counter, and had a painted, so they're looking at me, and they were grinning. And I knew what they must have been saying, you know what I mean? It'd be pretty easy, Anyway, and I was looking at them, they had eye contact with me, I stepped in front of the door, pulled out a flourished a grenade, pulled out the pin and rolled across the floor at them. They looked at us, stepped back, went, in New Guinea, 1943. Kept walking, they went like, ah! And they laughed. They thought it was funny. I don't know why I do that stuff.
Oh, man.
Nobody else would.
Do you collect anything?
Dust.
Dust.
Yeah, I said as a conner, I collect dust.
It's the first time I've heard that one.
No, but we all accumulate junk and that. I used to do model soldiers. I used to cast them and paint them. And it turned out Jeff Piccaro said to me, "You'll probably laugh. People think I got a very stupid hobby." I said, "What is it?" He said, "I paint these little silver horse soldiers." I said, "Oh, I make them." So we got to get some fire.
This takes me back to I think the third episode. One, Brendan Foster. You know Brendan?
Yep.
Yeah, Brendan. I asked him, "Do you collect anything?" He said, "Toy soldiers," and I think the small ones.
He must have pinched all mine. Some of my collection's missing.
Has he been out there? Or,
Not his place.
No, or Armadale? Or...
No, he might have been.
Yeah.
But I haven't taken them out of the box for 20 years. But I painted them all because they were War Games figures. Yeah. But I used to cast them. Yeah. I got a lot of weird through taxidermy. I mean, most people don't do that.
No.
I was also very keen on shooting. I used to do a lot of...
They're stuffed, I know. But I bagged taxidermy at the Ascot races on Saturday in race 8.
You backed taxidermy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I
lost a little bit of money on that.
A few jokes coming there.
Yeah.
Well, that's not many people do that now.
What?
Bet
on horses?
Taxidermy. But when I started doing it, because I did a plastics course as well, the idea was to replicate snakes and stuff. So I used to make suits of armour as well.
Yeah.
Facsimiles thereof.
So
I was going to go to Europe for the monks wanted to send me there to copy their art treasures and bring them back, and they want to sell them through the monastery in Norcia.
Yeah.
But I was wrapped up with playing, so I didn't go.
Yeah.
But I used to do a lot of that stuff, casting, and that's why when I started making drums, I had to make moulds and things like that. And it came fairly easy to me because the way I made the drums, nobody made them that way, so I had to make all the work out how to press them and get them round like that to stop them shrinking and all that sort of stuff. There's no books, or there are very few books you can read.
Yeah, it's all experimentation.
Well, there's little things like that wood there, for example. That's probably one of the most acidic woods in the world.
Yeah.
So, and in the early days, certain things you put on there wouldn't go off, and you have to know the reason why, because there's nothing written about that sort of thing. And a lot of them are quite carcinogenic too, I would think. And wattles, inland wattles definitely would be. And I've sucked it. I never wore masks. I used to really spray without masks. And, they say, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" I said, "Well, what's the point? Everyone knows who I am, for a starter." I said that to the safety inspector
What'll they
once.
think of next?
He said, "You won't laugh and you get massive brain damage." I said, "Well, I've got a massive brain."
Yeah.
Never saw him since, but... No, you do take... I took a lot of things from the health. I sucked in every sort of sawdust there is.
Yeah.
Never wore masks, and they've tested a couple now that are carcinogenic. Blackwood is.
Yeah.
And I would think all the inland wattles would be, but they've not tested them. But bugs don't go near them. They've got like their own specific smell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think something like jam, I think that'd be real nasty, that one.
Yeah.
And a couple of the others. So, but we got a wood from the government couple of years ago that they didn't know much about at all. I couldn't see anything written about
Dead wood?
No, it wasn't that. It was called Spicewood, and that's what they called it. Yeah. And I remember it was like lead. The weight of it was incredible. I didn't even want to push it into the saw. But it smelt really weird. It smelled like every Indian spice shop you ever been into.
That was from the government?
Yeah, they gave it to me. Anyway, I started cutting it. They wanted to know about it, and the sawdust was like sulphur. And the bloke on the other end of the thing said, "It's burning my face." This was you know. And it had the weirdest smell. And I thought, just something strange with this, so I didn't go on with it. The last I heard, they were taking it down to that Mount Romance place to get some extracts out of it to see what the hell it was.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't build anything out of that. There was another weird one I got out of the desert once too, desert whitewood, which is light, and it's white, which is very unusual for out there. And I was talking to a violin maker, and he had some. He said, "I chucked it out." I said, "Why?" I said, "It's weird stuff." He said, "Yeah, it started getting funguses on it when it was dry, which theoretically that doesn't happen." And he had it in his wardrobe, so I gave that one a flick too. That smelt really weird. I still made a couple of drums out of it though. But it was good fun doing that. I mean, I'm not one to make the same thing over and over again, repetition.
Yeah.
I used to get the workers to do that, but I'd have to know what that tree's going to sound like, or even what it looks like. You know, a lot of those people never seen what they are, and I figured, well, if I get them out on the market, people are seeing that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it was a bit of a buzz. I think that tree grows out the back of Campbell, and nobody even knows what it is.
Yeah.
Now this guy's playing on it, and I can hear it back, and he's done a concert. You know, that to me is a bit of a buzz.
Yeah.
You know, you say to a bloke, well, this drum's what you wanted. This one, it's the only one there is. There won't be another one. I probably won't go out there and do that again. You know, so that to me was the challenge. I like that. Because there's always something different that you're doing, you know.
So the 250 or so different bands, the 250 or so bands, the Ringos, the Mick Fleetwoods, Toto, U2, all of these guys, they're all different. Every snare drum they wanted was different, and they're all different in their own right. Or
well, stock items. The stock items do the gig.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously that's why people buy them.
Yeah.
But every now and again to be something different, you know.
Yeah.
And guys that actually hear it, you know, they come out of the factories and geez, I like that. You know,
so they would grab one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, or somebody be looking for a particular sound, I would talk about it, and then I'd come up with something. And the one thing I was happy about, nobody ever said it wasn't what they were looking for. Maybe they're just being kind, I don't know. But, you know, because sound is a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about it. So I might like one sound, so you might not like it.
You're passionate about sound, obviously.
Yeah, well, drum sound, certainly. You know, I mean, I don't know much about other stuff, but there's certain sounds I like in a drum. There's things I don't like in them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those in a snare drum, it's going to sound good.
Yeah.
If you haven't got rattly wires, if you can tune the thing real good, you know, if the shell's made well, it's made out of something that's, you know, going to project out. And the way you make the shells too, because see, nobody did that much. I don't know that anyone had a snare drums built like that in the mid-'80s. When we put them on the market, a lot of people laughed, said, you make drums like that. And then you don't do this and you don't do that like that. And I said, well, I don't care. I don't care what you do. That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
Now a lot of them do it the way that I was doing it, you know. Because a lot of people get set in their ways. They say, oh, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
And they just keep saying that for a long time, when really there are other ways it could be done better. You know, that's why I looked at it when I came in. And other little things too, which I didn't think about much, but like Ronnie Tutt, he played with Elvis Presley and with Neil Diamond now. Yeah. And he said, you know, there's something you did for drums that you probably don't think about. I said, what's that? He said, I used to hate sitting there on stage. He said, I got a kit wrapped in black plastic. He said, and you've got these violins with beautiful wood and these guitarists all looking at you. He said, but now drums look as good as their instruments or better. He said, and you did that. Well, I kind of did too, because I didn't like the plastic like that. And I used to think Gretsch had their centennial year, I think it was 1984, and they'd saved these veneers to make up these special 10 drum kits. It looked fucking magnificent. And I used to think, well, why don't you make them all look like that? And that's why I decided my kits are going to look like that, not bloody have black plastic wrapped around them. So, and they all look like, even cheap drum kits now look immaculate, you know. The cheap drum kits of today are much better than the expensive drum kits when I was around.
Wow.
No matter what people say, you know. Half those old drums are rubbish, you know. They didn't project either. I mean, they sound all right in the minute you start playing, and there's amplifiers, you couldn't hear them. Yeah. You know. So.
Okay, what would you put on your gravestone?
Boy. Well, I'll put "Tomb at may concern" at the top. Let me think about this. If laughter's the best medicine, why am I here? That'd probably R.I.P., which is rip into the piss. Something along them lines, I don't know. So, Spike Milligan style, I told you.
Yeah.
So I'd come up with something different.
Yeah.
But I've been working on the funeral thing, because a lot of people have been ringing me about that. You know, when you turn 65...
They've got your number all of a sudden.
Yeah, they all start ringing you up. And I said to this woman, I said, yes, I intend to get burned in the creme de la crematorium. I'm not mucking around. I said, but then again, I said, you know, the undertakers bury and burn them. There's a lot to be said for them, because I do know the manager dug graves. But Barron O'Dead, I think Barron O'Dead, I could be going for them. Their coffin makers are rigor mortis and tenon. And the woman said, oh, thanks. Yeah. Another
guy put the phone down pretty quickly, did you?
Yeah. Another guy said, have you got death cover? I said, yes, sand. He hung up. And the other one I got was, just trying to think what she said, because there's been about 6 of them. Oh, have you made plans for your funeral? I said, you plan to lie in a coffin. I don't get calls from them anymore. You know.
Good. They'll start calling me soon.
No, you got to think about that.
Yeah.
I don't plan anything long term now.
Yeah.
You know. There's no point. They say, why don't you put another? Oh, I'm not planting a tree plantation. You know what I mean? There's certain things that I don't aspire to do anymore.
Yeah.
Because you just don't think you're going to have the time. You know, I'm not sure I can get home.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 70, and I live in Armadale, and we're in Malaga. That's a long trip.
That's a long way.
Trip. You know, well, it is.
Well, it's not as far as me. I'm in South Yunderup.
Where?
South Yunderup.
Oh, South Yunderup. That's got crabs there.
Yeah.
In the river, I mean
No,
after a gig or anything. I'm talking about, you know, when you wade around.
I caught more crabs at Macy's in Melbourne than I do in South Yunderup.
Where?
Macy's.
Maitland?
Macy's.
Oh, mating, yes.
It's
the crippled crab that came from Victoria on a crutch. I know all about it. You know.
So, Chris...
That's why I used to say that I'm busy the one-armed drummer with crabs. Now, that's a saying of mine that has spread around the place, I know. You know, I've heard that back from other drummers about 10 years later.
There is a one-armed drummer around, guy.
Yeah, I know. And I used to... Every time a heavy metal band had come to Perth, I used to say that to the drummer, shit, your arm's grown back. That's what I used to say to him. They used to laugh like, that's Rick Allen. Yes.
Oh, we'll get in trouble for this.
Hey?
Well, I'll get in trouble for that.
The stickings would be easy for him, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, especially when they only had one stick.
Hey?
Especially when they only had one stick, you know, only the right or the left stick.
Yeah, well, I told you I was going to do a book on stickings early before they invented the second stick. But I didn't think the second stick would catch on, but it did.
Do you think there'll be a third stick?
There could be. There could be. I was talking... the actual rage with drums now is this thing called gospel chops. Have you heard of it?
No, well,
Well, it is. It's called. It is. Yeah, go and look on YouTube.
Let's talk about it.
Gospel chops, and
Yeah.
It's usually these African Americans. They squeeze as many notes in as they can.
Yeah.
And it's the rage of gospel chops. So I can wait to get over this so I can stir them up. So I say, gospel chops. I got better than that. I said, I got Mormon chops. I said, you got to put the kid on the bike and play it. I said, 7-day Jehovah's Witness chops. You got to set the kid up in front of the door on a Sunday morning. Or Islamic chops, they're better because you get to play what you want. Everybody else is fucking wrong. You don't listen to them. And, no, it's true. And then the worst one, the Shiva chops. You know, the Hindu, well, they got 8 arms. The sticking's terrible.
Hey, we've got one of our own, Rick Whittle. He's got 8.
Yeah, well, that's right. He's got the
Shiva
Shiva chops now.
The Shiva chops.
Oh, well. You've got to have a bit of a laugh, don't you?
Right. It's wonderful to have a laugh with you. Look, is there something, Chris, is there something we don't know about you, Chris? Something you want to share with us?
No, I don't think so. I think I've told you everything.
Really?
Although I have been reincarnated with being without living the first time, and that's why I'm a little bit like I am now.
Yeah.
You know, so no, I don't think so. I've actually got a lot of interests. I have. I read a lot.
Yeah.
And I got not a photographic memory, but a retentive memory. By the time I was 7, I was in the adult library, and I just about read that out too. I read incredibly quickly, and so I've got a lot of interest. You know, about history, geography, always been very archaeology, been keen on all that stuff, studied all the old religions, everything. And
don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You know,
I will. I'll buy the whole channel out. Actually,
you'll buy the whole channel.
I don't know. I'll subscribe.
You might be the only
I'll
viewer.
own the place.
You might be the only viewer after this episode.
Well, I can make sure it doesn't get out. If I buy the place, I can destroy the tapes, can't I? How much is it going to cost me?
I don't know. You've just ruined my career. I think.
Look,
please like our videos, viewers, and comment and let us know.
Fantastic, these videos.
Comment and let us know who you think we should interview. Send in all of your complaints. You know, you're welcome to do that. Look, Chris.
I was just warming up.
Chris,
Hey?
we've got to go because my producer's going like this.
Is he?
And he's scared in case you're going to say...
That's sort of an affliction.
No, he's scared in case you're going to start on the politicians.
Like the people that say me up for palsy, they shake the tin. Are they really practising or what is it? You take the tin and they still keep doing it.
Mate,
really.
like you've obviously warmed the hearts of 1 million drummers around the world. the sounds of all the music we hear now, a lot of it's to do with you.
Yeah, I have. Like, honestly,
And,
to be, leaving the comedy out of it.
Yeah.
The thing I get out of it the most is knowing that somewhere, someone's getting a real good sound.
Yeah.
While they're playing, and they get a lot of enjoyment, and they're thanking me for what they got, because that sound wasn't available 30 or 40 years ago, and they've got that now. So I mean,
so we appreciate your commitment and your input into.
I'm sorry,
music.
but what are you appreciating? I need to hear it again.
We appreciate your commitment and everything you've done for music.
Yeah, well,
and
I've done some bad things to music too. You haven't heard me playing.
You've done some bad things to my reputation on this show, mate. Look, but thank you very much for coming in, Chris.
No, it's my pleasure.
I really appreciate talking to you, and you're obviously an icon, and you've cut new ground that no one else could ever cut. So I appreciate and respect you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I suppose it's
Thanks, mate.
it's been a little bit different.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking the time to suck that information out of me.
No worries, mate.
I'm sorry I wasn't a little bit straighter, but I do get a bit carried away,
No worries, mate.
Just as well you did get me to do my Captain Kirk.
Okay. Can you do your Captain Kirk for me? Come on.
That's right.
Please, look in this camera here and do your Captain Kirk.
Only for an instant.
Save it. Save the Captain Kirk.
Scotty, what's wrong with the engines?
Mate, don't walk off too quickly, because you're going to...
I know about that. I was just standing up.
Cousin.
Do you want me to take this off?
Can I just say goodbye to everyone?
What?
I just want to say goodbye to everyone. Look, thanks very much. No, it's okay. Thanks for joining us tonight. See you next time. Thank you.
Fantastic.
These drums are used by rock and roll royalty, Fleetwood Mac, U2, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, just to name a few. But they've had a much more humble beginning in WA.
That's the finished drum, and this, of course, is the unfinished drum underneath. So
Chris Brady founded Brady Drums 30 years ago, trekking into regional WA to hand-pick local wood.
what's this here?
This ugly big thing here is a bird's eye wandoo as well.
Oh, these would be good.
He salvages from farm clearing and fallen trees and supports urban recovery, taking non-commercial species cleared for development and turning them into musical instruments.
These things don't have to be wasted, and this is the proof of the pudding, really, isn't it? Now, that could have easily have been at the tip. It's just as likely to be on stage with somebody quite famous in the next 6 months.
At his inconspicuous factory in the Perth suburb of Armidale, Mr Brady and his team painstakingly handcraft each drum for its sound.
And that's how a solid wood drum sounds. You can imagine the amount of work in that. So I don't do as many as I used to.
The labour of love offers less profit than mass production, so they don't do celebrity endorsements.
That means some other drummers are going to have to pay more for their drum kit, a younger one or whatever, and I don't like that.
But that doesn't stop rock and roll's biggest names lining up to buy them. Roxanne Taylor, ABC News.